In this past 1 year, I've sold more than 100 copies of my ebook, registered more than 50 students for my investment course, increased my own dividend income, built my YouTube income, and also continued my work as a financial advisor. All in all, right now, I have 14 sources of income. And in this journey, I've learned many things and made many mistakes. Today, I'd like to share them all with you so that hopefully it can inspire you in your journey too. And stay on to the end because the last point is the most important one of them all. So without further ado, let's roll in the intro video. Hi guys, welcome back. Without further ado, let's dive on to the first point, which is everything can be learned. Now, this is a mindset thing, and if you believe in it also, you realize that really everything can be learned. Think about cycling. Before learning the art of cycling, each and every person going up that bike does not believe that balance is achievable. But through practice and through believing and through falling down and getting up again, that art can actually be mastered. So that learning ability can also be applied to anything you're thinking about. It can be filming, it can be editing, it can be coding. There are so many things that naturally we are not equipped with from school, but through practice and a positive attitude, it can be learned. But there's also an important quote that you should take note of. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. This is pretty deep, and think about it a bit harder. And it ties into another point also, which is you need 10,000 hours to master something. Which means you really do need to have patience and pick something that you can keep trying and keep falling down and keep repeating the process until you become a true master of it. And that leads to the second point. Point number 2, follow your curiosity. When I first started my website, I was genuinely curious. How do some actually find customers online? So I learned everything I could on search engine optimization, SEO, and for a year, it kept me well fed in my business. Then the idea of YouTube came about because I realized everything was moving towards video media. And I also realized that why do some influencers get so many loyal fans? Can I actually be one of them or not? So that's why I learned everything about YouTube subsequently. I learned about filming, I learned about editing, and learned the search engine optimization also for YouTube. And then as I started to explore YouTube more, I realized that some influencers have shared that digital courses was an avenue that was natural to branch into. That is in the e-commerce space. But I also wondered, why would someone pay me when I actually set up a digital course? What kind of value must be presented first before that transaction takes place? What is the marketing edge needed? And to me, it was really like a game. So I set out to learn everything about it, and that's how I actually constructed and marketed my ebook. It's just not as simple as writing a book and hoping people buy. It's more of having a goal to it. It's also having the ability to provide enough value so that people want that transaction. And last but not least, it must appear to have certain level of scarcity. That is when the value of that product increases. So all these are things that I learned following my curiosity. And you know the saying, life is a continuous journey of learning. Steve Jobs, he mentioned something before that you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. That is why following your curiosity is very important, and that leads to the third point. Point number 3, build without the pressure of it giving you immediate income. Now, income is a consequence of that idea that you are trying succeeding. When I wrote this book, How to Get to $1 Million, it had about 100 pages, and if you think about it, it definitely would cost 200-300 hours, correct, just to complete that whole book, because each page requires 1-2 hours of research and writing and articulation. So that amount of commitment is no exaggeration. But if you think about it from the income perspective, it's never going to make sense. It's never going to motivate you enough to get started. So instead, think bigger picture. What does it do for your brand? What does it do for your marketing reach? Or what kind of impact it can help you that motivates you to put in the work needed? Or is it a personal challenge that really intrigues you? So all these are more important factors than the immediate income that it can produce. Now, before we get to point number 4 on what I've learned, invite you to smash the like button. It's taken our team hours to prepare this presentation for you. And smash the subscribe, especially if you like content that touches on income and finances. Point number 4 is none other than managing time well. And I've actually 2 points for this. The first is cutting back on distractions. When I was writing my book, I dedicated time to do so. For a week, I was dedicating 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. solely for writing out the book. And when it comes to filming, I also have a certain dedicated time that I set aside where I don't pick up calls and I don't look at text messages. Because filming you need to memorize things, even for now. And when there's distractions coming in, the process takes a lot longer to complete. And for my own, I like to put the hardest tasks right at the start of the day so that all my mental energy is towards that. I can complete them easier. The second sub point for this time management is using the 80-20 rule. 20% of your efforts would actually move the needle by 80%. So for myself in my work, speaking to customers, thinking about their problems are things that I feel satisfied with and move the needle the most when it comes to providing financial advisory. That means I have to outsource or trust systems to handle the administration process. So what about for YouTube? Research, scripting, thumbnails are things that move the needle the most when it comes to a video's success. So that means I need to get help in terms of editing, because that, while it's important, doesn't move the needle the most. And any time that I can save in terms of editing can be fueled towards finding more topics to research on and producing more good content for you. And that leads naturally to point number 5, which is delegating. Point number 5, delegating to people that you can trust. Now, using my YouTube as an example, I realized that editing is something that I can do fairly well only, and it's pretty easy to engage someone who's much better at it than me and can do it at a faster pace. So if you want to build multiple streams of income, the first thing that you need to think about is how you can delegate certain parts of your work so that you can focus on things that must be done only by you. Delegation applies also to other things. For myself, I have kids, 2 young kids. So delegating childcare is also very important to free up valuable time to work on the various sources of income. So I have my parents to thank, I have the school to thank, and when you find your own support pillars, you can also achieve a lot more than doing everything yourself. Point number 6 on what I've learned is actually setting deadlines. I deliberately set a deadline for the book to be launched in June of 2021 because I realized that when you don't set a deadline, you will always procrastinate and move the yardstick forward. That is why if you give yourself 6 months to complete something, you take 6 months. But if you give yourself 2 weeks to complete something, you only take 2 weeks. Point number 7 of what I've learned is the power of compounding. That usually applies to investing results, correct? We hear about compounding is the 8th wonder of the world, whereby $1 can actually become $10 if you compound it with enough time and with a good enough compounding rate of return. But what I'd like to highlight a bit more is how you can actually compound your own effort. You know, building up this YouTube channel, it's taken me many hours. I can't actually put an exact figure to it. But if I see each video as 8 to 10 hours, then naturally those are baby steps to overcome. So using the same principle, look at your project. Can it be broken down into smaller pieces whereby you handle each baby step one at a time? And you realize that once you piece them up together, they form a very big and complete project. It's often mentioned also, consistent work done well beats exceptional work done occasionally. So if you want to succeed in building up your own income streams, put in small amount of consistent work and you realize the magic of compounding also applies to your own efforts. And that leads to point number 8, which is also probably the most important one. That is to play to your strengths. You know, I talk to clients about money because I work as a financial advisor. And in my digital products, I also talk about money, whereby my book is my journey on making income, whereby my course is an investment course on how I do research. So everything ties into my strength, which is in talking about money. But if you ask me to do something on photography, which is what Peter McKinnon is very good at, I haven't even owned a camera, so there's no chance that I would succeed if I did a channel in photography. Then what about something on food? I've seen before Jamie Oliver's good work on his YouTube channel. I've also seen before his cookbooks and how they can actually sell very well. But again, I only know how to cook rice, noodles and egg. I don't exactly know how to cook a good meal out. So food is definitely not a space that I should look at too much. And that's why I believe this is the most important point. When you build your streams of income, don't just look at things that are trendy. Look for things that interest you so that you can put in the work consistently and you can put in the work even if you're tired. And the most important part is your fans, your audience can really feel whether you are truly in love with the topic or not, because the way you communicate to them sends all the messages about your passion on that topic. So all in all, let me recap with you what are these 8 points that you need to take note if you want to build your own income streams. The first is that everything can be learned. The second is to follow your curiosity. The third is to build income sources but do not expect income immediately. The fourth is to actually manage your time well. The fifth is actually delegate as much as possible. The sixth is to set goals with deadline. The seventh is to understand the power of compounding. And the eighth is to play to your strengths. If these points resonate with you, smash the like button. And as always, share this video with anyone who's also looking to build multiple streams of income. And with that, let me introduce you to the video that I've done on my 14 streams of income. In total, they provide me more than 200,000 in terms of annual income. If you haven't seen that video, inviting you there. And maybe that video can also help you in your journey. With that, I'll sign off from here and see you there. Take care and goodbye.